The mockery begins. The howls of alien laughter battered Johnny's ears as he stood rigidly before the Galactic Council, his face burning with humiliation while the extraterrestrial delegates mocked humanity's pitiful water-based bodies. The vast chamber echoed with derisive jeers, the sound bouncing off the towering walls adorned with alien symbols that seemed to mock him with every glance. Johnny, a representative of the United Earth government, stood alone in this sea of hostile alien faces, his hands clenched at his sides, his jaw set in defiance. He was painfully aware of the stares, the whispers, the scornful smiles that curled the and their allies. The Draconis were the dominant species in the galaxy. At least they thought they were. With their towering frames covered in sleek scales and their serpentine eyes glowing with a predatory gleam, they exuded an air of arrogance that bordered on delusion. They saw humanity as nothing more than a cosmic joke, a primitive species barely worthy of notice. Humans are nothing but cosmic jokes. Rexor, the Draconis ambassador, crowed with malicious glee, his forked tongue flicking between razor-sharp teeth. His words were laced with venom, each syllable dripping with contempt as he gestured towards Johnny. Their water-based bodies could never withstand the rigors of space. One dip in the oceans covering most habitable worlds and they'd melt like sugar. The rest of the council erupted into fresh gales of cruel laughter, their voices blending into a cacophony of derision that made Johnny's blood boil. But Johnny stood his ground, his face a mask of stoic determination. His fingers curled into fists, his nails digging into his palms as he fought to maintain his composure. Little did these arrogant aliens know that humanity's supposed weakness was nothing more than a carefully crafted ruse, a facade designed to deceive and mislead their enemies. Johnny knew the truth, a truth that would soon wipe the smug smiles right off their scaly faces. Humanity had genetically engineered an immunity to water, a secret that had been kept hidden from the galaxy for generations. It was their trump card, the key to colonizing the galaxy's most inhospitable worlds and establishing a powerful interstellar presence. And Johnny was determined to play his part in ensuring humanity's ultimate ascension. Light years away, Earth's top leaders were gathered in a classified meeting deep within the heart of the United Earth Government's Secure Command Center. The room was dimly lit, the only illumination coming from the holographic displays that floated in the air, casting a bluish glow over the assembled officials. The air was thick with tension, the weight of their collective responsibility pressing down on them like a physical burden. The topic of discussion was the tense diplomatic situation with the Draconis and other aggressive alien races, who would like nothing more than to see humanity fail. The Secretary of Defense, a stern-faced man with graying hair and piercing blue eyes, spoke with a voice that brooked no argument. "We must keep our water immunity completely secret," he insisted, his tone resolute. "If the Draconis were to discover the truth, they'd stop at nothing to destroy us before we could solidify our foothold in the galaxy." The president, a woman known for her calm demeanor and sharp intellect, nodded grimly in agreement. "We need more time," she said, her voice tinged with urgency. "Our covert colonization program is already underway, with bases being constructed on a dozen oceanic worlds as we speak. But until we're ready to defend ourselves, we must avoid confrontation at all costs." Back on Draconis, Johnny received the orders from Earth with gritted teeth and a stony face. He knew they were right, but the thought of continuing to play the role of the weak and naive human chafed at him. Let the aliens laugh and mock them as weaklings. For now, Johnny would play along, biding his time until the moment was right. He forced a polite smile onto his face as he mingled among the Draconis delegates at the diplomatic reception, his eyes scanning the room with a mixture of wariness and determination. He sipped a viscous green liquid from a crystalline glass, trying not to gag at the putrid taste, while the aliens chattered and laughed, their reptilian eyes glinting with disdain whenever they glanced his way. Ambassador Rexor sidled up to Johnny, his scales gleaming under the iridescent lights of the Grand Chamber. "Ah, the human representative," Rexor said, his voice dripping with condescension as he regarded Johnny with a mixture of amusement and scorn. "I was just telling the others about our latest space exploration mission. We've discovered a planet with vast oceans, ripe for Draconis colonization. Johnny feigned interest, nodding as if impressed. Is that so? Congratulations on your discovery, Ambassador. But inwardly he was elated. A planet with vast oceans sounded like the perfect place for human colonization. The irony was almost too much to bear. Rexor's lips curled into a sneer. Yes, it's a pity your kind will never be able to visit such a world, he said, his voice laced with mock sympathy. The oceans would dissolve your pitiful water-based bodies in seconds. He chuckled, a rasping sound that grated on Johnny's nerves like nails on a chalkboard. Johnny gritted his teeth behind his diplomatic smile, suppressing the urge to wipe that smug expression off Rexor's face. That is unfortunate, he said, his voice tight with barely concealed sarcasm. But I suppose we all have our limitations. Little did Rexor know, the very limitations he mocked were the foundation of humanity's greatest strength. Far from the glittering reception halls of the Draconis capital, deep in the heart of Earth's classified military command center, the United Earth government's covert colonial administration was already setting their plans in motion. A sleek, stealth-equipped ship was being loaded with supplies and equipment, its hull shimmering with advanced cloaking technology that rendered it invisible to any prying eyes. Colonel Sarah Thompson, head of the colonial administration, stood before a group of 100 genetically enhanced colonists, each one selected for their exceptional skills and physical adaptations. They were Earth's best and brightest, the vanguard of humanity's push into the galaxy. Your mission is of the utmost importance, Colonel Thompson said, her voice ringing with authority as she addressed the colonists. You will establish a secret base on this ocean planet and secure a foothold for human colonization. The Draconis cannot know of our presence. The colonists nodded, their eyes gleaming with purpose as they absorbed the gravity of their task. This was more than just a mission. It was the future of humanity at stake. They boarded the ship, settling into their cryopods for the long journey ahead. As the stealth ship slipped out of Earth's orbit and vanished into the inky void of space, Johnny continued to play his role at the diplomatic reception, his mind racing with thoughts of the future. He listened attentively as Rexor droned on about the Draconis' grand plans for the ocean planet, fighting the urge to roll his eyes at the aliens' self-aggrandizing boasts. Days later, the human stealth ship glided into orbit around the oceanic world, its cloaking device rendering it invisible to any watching sensors. The colonists disembarked, marveling at the endless expanse of blue stretching out before them. The planet's surface was a vast, unbroken ocean, the waves glistening under the light of the distant sun. With practiced efficiency, the colonists began construction of their underground base, using advanced Earth technology to burrow deep beneath the planet's surface. Robotic drones ferried supplies and equipment from the ship, while the colonists worked tirelessly to build their new home. Back on the Draconis homeworld, Rexor stood before the Galactic Council, his chest puffed out with pride as he prepared to make a grand announcement. I am pleased to announce that the ocean planet has been officially annexed as Draconis territory, he declared, his voice ringing with authority. A round of applause erupted from the other delegates, their eyes gleaming with approval. Johnny raised his hand, putting on an air of concern. Will humans be permitted to visit this planet for scientific research purposes? He asked innocently, knowing full well what the answer would be. Rexor threw back his head and laughed, a harsh, grating sound that made Johnny's skin crawl. Humans set foot on this planet? Never! Rexor sneered, his forked tongue flicking out in a gesture of contempt. The oceans would be fatal to your kind. Your delicate bodies would dissolve like sugar in water. Johnny nodded, keeping his face carefully neutral. I understand. Thank you for clarifying. Inside, he was smirking at the irony of Rexor's words. If only the arrogant alien knew the truth. On the ocean planet, the human colonists put the finishing touches on their underwater base. It was a marvel of engineering, a self-sustaining habitat complete with oxygen generators, hydroponic farms, and state-of-the-art recycling systems. The base was hidden deep beneath the ocean's surface, far from prying eyes, its location carefully chosen to avoid detection by Draconis patrols. The colonists sent an encrypted transmission back to Earth, their message terse but triumphant. Base operational, planet rich in resources. Colonization proceeding as planned. The United Earth government received the message with elation tempered by caution. They knew the road ahead was fraught with danger, but they also knew that they were playing the long game. "Excellent work," Colonel Thompson replied. "But remember, expand slowly. We cannot risk detection by the Draconis. The long game is all that matters." As the covert colonization of the ocean planet continued, Johnny maintained his facade on the galactic stage. He endured the mocking laughter and patronizing comments from Rexor and the other delegates, all the while secure in the knowledge that humanity was quietly building its strength. One day, when the time was right, the Draconis and the rest of the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity's power. For now, Johnny smiled and nodded, playing the role of the weak and naive human, biding his time until Earth was ready to claim its rightful place among the stars. The gathering storm as. The cycles of Draconis Prime's twin suns marked the passage of months. Johnny Roberts settled into a rhythm of diplomatic duties and covert operations. Each day, he attended councils, receptions, and meetings, all while secretly gathering intelligence to relay back to Earth. His role as the bumbling human ambassador was well established, and the Draconis, blinded by their arrogance, continued to underestimate him at every turn. But Johnny was more than just an ambassador. He was a spy, a strategist, and a soldier in a silent war that was being fought across the galaxy. Deep beneath the waves of the ocean planet, now known as Atlantis Base, the human colony thrived. The base had grown from a small outpost to a sprawling underground city, its population swelling as more colonists arrived from Earth. The colonists had adapted quickly to their new environment, their genetically enhanced bodies allowing them to thrive in the planet's extreme conditions. The ocean world was rich in resources, and the colonists wasted no time in exploiting its vast potential. Massive underwater factories were constructed, churning out everything from advanced weaponry to starship components. The base's defenses were bolstered with energy shields, torpedo launchers, and automated turrets, all hidden beneath the ocean's surface, ready to strike at a moment's notice. But Atlantis Base was more than just a colony. It was the heart of humanity's secret expansion into the galaxy. Stealth ships, equipped with advanced cloaking technology, ferried supplies and personnel to other ocean worlds, where new bases were being established in preparation for humanity's eventual confrontation with the Draconis and their allies. On Draconis Prime, Johnny found himself cornered by Ambassador Rexor at yet another diplomatic function. The alien scales gleamed with smug satisfaction as he approached, his reptilian eyes narrowing as he regarded the human with a mixture of amusement and disdain. "Ah, human, I have wonderful news about our ocean world," Rexor proclaimed, his voice dripping with condescension. "Our colonization efforts proceed at an unprecedented pace. Soon we will fully claim that pristine planet for the glory of the Draconis Empire." Johnny fought to keep his expression neutral, though he couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction at the irony of the situation. "Is that so, Ambassador?" "How impressive," he replied, his tone polite but distant. Rexor's forked tongue flicked out in a gesture of superiority. "Indeed. We've even chosen a name befitting its status as the jewel of our expanding territories, New Draconis." Johnny allowed his shoulders to slump, feigning dejection. New Draconis. How fitting. Inwardly, he thrilled at the sheer audacity of the situation. If only Rexor knew of the vast human colony operating right under his snout. Far from the pomp and pageantry of the Draconis capital, a small fleet of unmarked human ships slipped through the stars, their mission to make contact with a previously unknown alien species, the Cian. The diplomatic team, led by seasoned diplomat Elena Reeves, studied their briefings intently. Intelligence suggested the Xian were water-dwellers like humanity, with a fierce independent streak and a healthy distrust of Draconis expansionism. It was a combination Earth's leaders hoped to leverage. First contact occurred in a neutral system far from prying eyes. The Xian were a graceful amphibious species, their bioluminescent bodies pulsing with patterns that conveyed curiosity and wariness in equal measure. Elena stood before the assembled Xian leadership, her voice calm and confident. "Greetings, noble Xian," she began. "We come in peace and with a proposal. Our races share much in common, not least our mutual wariness of Draconis aggression. We believe an alliance between our peoples could ensure the freedom of water-dwelling species across the galaxy. The Zeon eldest, a being of swirling blues and greens, pulsed with interest. You speak boldly, human. Yet how can your kind hope to stand against the Draconis when water is poison to you both? Elena allowed herself a small smile. Ah, but there lies the beauty of our proposal. You see, humanity's greatest strength is also our best-kept secret. With a flourish, she plunged her hand into a nearby aquarium, letting the water flow between her fingers. The Zeon Council flashed with shock and amazement. Impossible, the eldest exclaimed. Not impossible, Elena corrected. Simply unexpected. We've kept this ability hidden, allowing the Draconis to underestimate us. But with your help, we can turn the tables. The negotiations lasted for days, but in the end, the Zeon agreed. A covert alliance was formed, built on shared goals and mutual respect. True to their word, the Zeon began sharing their advanced, faster-than-light drive technology, a breakthrough that catapulted humanity's expansion into the stars. Back on Draconis Prime, Johnny found himself summoned to a private meeting with Ambassador Rexor. The alien's chambers were oppressively hot and dry, forcing Johnny to take frequent sips from his water flask. Rexor's eyes narrowed as he watched the human drink. Tell me, Roberts, why does your species persist in these foolish attempts at diplomacy? Surely you must realize how inferior you are on the galactic stage. Johnny lowered his flask, allowing himself a subtle smile. You may be surprised, Ambassador. Humanity is playing a long game. Who knows? You may one day regret underestimating us. Rexor's laughter filled the chamber, harsh and mocking. Oh, you pitiful creature. Your delusions of grandeur are almost charming. The Draconis Empire will always reign supreme. Your feeble efforts to compete are laughable at best. Johnny simply nodded, excusing himself from the meeting. As he walked the winding corridors of the Draconis capital, he felt a surge of satisfaction. The pieces were falling into place, and the arrogant aliens suspected nothing. In a secure chamber deep beneath Earth's surface, the United Earth government convened. Reports flowed in from Atlantis Base, the Zeon Alliance, and a dozen other covert operations across the galaxy. For the first time since humanity reached for the stars, hope blossomed. The path to victory was long and fraught with danger, but it was there. Humanity would face many challenges in the years to come, but they would face them united, with new allies at their side and the vast oceans of the galaxy as their staging ground. The Draconis Empire's days of uncontested supremacy were numbered. They just didn't know it yet. Rising tensions, the alliance with the Zeon catapulted humanity's expansion into the stars, and Earth shipyards buzzed with activity as engineers integrated the alien FTL drives into a new generation of vessels. Stealth transports slipped through the void, ferrying supplies and personnel to a growing network of hidden outposts scattered across the galaxy's oceans. Each outpost was carefully concealed, its presence masked by advanced cloaking technology and the natural features of the oceanic worlds. These outposts served as the backbone of humanity's covert expansion, enabling them to build up their strength in secret while avoiding detection by the Draconis and other hostile species. Under Draconis Prime, Johnny Roberts continued his charade as the bumbling human ambassador. He sat across from Rexor in the alien's opulent office, forcing himself to look impressed as the Draconis diplomat bragged about their latest accomplishments. Our scouting missions to New Draconis have been a resounding success, Rexor boasted, his scales gleaming with pride. The planet's oceans are even more vast and rich than we initially believed. Soon, they will be fully under Draconis control. Johnny nodded, feigning curiosity. That sounds fascinating, Ambassador. I can only imagine the wonders your teams must have discovered. Rexor's forked tongue flicked out in a gesture of superiority. Indeed. In fact, I've decided to extend a rare honor to you, human. You'll be joining our next diplomatic tour to New Draconis. Johnny's eyes widened in genuine surprise. Me? But I thought humans weren't allowed on the planet due to the inhospitable conditions. Rexor waved a dismissive hand. You'll remain safely aboard our ship, of course. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. Perhaps witnessing the might of the Draconis Empire firsthand will help you understand your species' place in the galaxy. I'm honored, Ambassador, Johnny replied, bowing his head to hide the glint of triumph in his eyes. Weeks later, Johnny stood on the bridge of a Draconis cruiser as it dropped out of FTL above the shimmering blue orb of New Draconis. He watched intently as a small survey team boarded a submersible and plunged into the planet's depths, their mission to gather data on the ocean world. Unknown to the Draconis, a swarm of stealthed human drones from Atlantis base tracked the alien vessel's every move, recording detailed scans of the submersible's capabilities and vulnerabilities. Inside Atlantis base's command center, technicians pored over the incoming data, analyzing the information for any weaknesses that could be exploited in the future. They watched as the Draconis survey team emerged from their craft on a small island, marveling at the lush vegetation and collecting samples. Tiny infiltrator drones deployed by Atlantis base flitted among them, gathering hair, scale, and tissue samples for analysis. Back aboard the Draconis ship, Rexor clapped Johnny on the back with a scaled hand. Magnificent, isn't it? Once our colonization efforts begin in earnest, New Draconis will become the jewel of our empire. Johnny forced a worried frown. It certainly is impressive, Ambassador. I must admit I'm a bit envious of the Draconis Empire's expansion. Rexor laughed, a harsh grating sound. As you should be, human. But don't fret. Perhaps we'll allow your kind to visit a Draconis resort world someday, if you behave. As the tour concluded, Johnny shook Rexor's hand. Thank you for this rare glimpse of such a wondrous world, Ambassador. It's more than we humans could have hoped for. Rexor's chest puffed out with pride. Indeed it is. Consider yourself fortunate to have witnessed it at all, given your species' fragility. Johnny simply nodded, his mind racing with the possibilities that lay ahead. The Draconis' arrogance would be their downfall, and humanity would be ready to seize its destiny among the stars. Meanwhile, Earth's alliance with the Zion deepened. The aquatic aliens shared advanced propulsion systems and weapons technology, accelerating humanity's military buildup. But with each passing day, the Zeon grew more anxious about potential conflict with the Draconis. In a secure chamber beneath the Atlantic, Zeon Ambassador Zilar addressed the United Earth government. His bioluminescent skin pulsed with urgent patterns as he spoke. The Draconis grow bolder by the day, Zilar warned. We must accelerate our preparations. If they discover the true extent of human expansion, war will be inevitable. The UEG representatives nodded grimly. Production of aquatic-adapted warships and bioengineered marines shifted into high gear. Humanity knew conflict loomed on the horizon, but they were committed to avoiding open warfare until their forces were overwhelming. For now, Johnny and his fellow diplomats would continue their delicate dance of deception, buying precious time for the coming storm. The Draconis colonial fleet hung in orbit above the shimmering blue orb of New Draconis, their scaled crews buzzing with excitement. Captain Zaros stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his chest swelling with pride as he gazed upon the world that would soon become the jewel of the Draconis Empire. Begin the descent sequence, Zaros ordered, his voice filled with authority. Send out the first wave of probes to locate suitable landing zones. A flurry of activity erupted across the bridge as officers carried out his commands. Sleek, reptilian-shaped probes, tendrils of viscous material reaching out to consume the fresh nutrients. As it grew, the organism released clouds of sickly green toxins that swirled within the confined space. Across the galaxy, an encrypted transmission reached Johnny Roberts' secure terminal in Nova Atlantis. His eyes widened as he scanned the contents, cold dread settling in his stomach. Without hesitation, he activated the emergency broadcast system. All colonial governors and Zeon High Command report to the war room immediately, he ordered, his voice tight with urgency. Minutes later, the chamber filled with holographic projections of human and Zeon leaders. Admiral Zorak's tentacles writhed with agitation as Johnny relayed the intel. Project Leviathan, Johnny explained, bringing up schematics of the Draconis bioweapon. A self-replicating organism designed to consume oxygen and release deadly toxins. If deployed, it could render our ocean worlds uninhabitable within days. A ripple of alarm spread through the assembled leaders. Governor Chen of Hydra spoke up, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. What's our plan of action? Johnny nodded grimly. We're mobilizing the entire Nova Atlantis armada, every ship, every mech, every fighter we can muster. We need to be ready for anything. As the meeting adjourned, Nova Atlantis erupted into frenzied activity. In the massive orbital shipyards, welding torches flared as crews worked tirelessly to complete new warships. Robotic assemblers moved with precision, attaching weapon systems and hull plating. On the planet's surface, recruitment centers overflowed with volunteers, men and women of all ages lined up, eager to defend their new aquatic homes. Training simulations ran day and night, preparing fresh recruits for undersea combat. Deep within the heart of Nova Atlantis, a team of elite operatives prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. Captain Sarah Reeves checked her equipment one last time, her face a mask of concentration. "Team, listen up," she addressed the mixed group of humans and Xeon. "We're infiltrating the Draconis bioweapons facility. Our objective is to retrieve data on the Leviathan organism and, if possible, sabotage their production capabilities." The team nodded, their expressions grim but determined. They boarded a stealth shuttle, its hull designed to evade Draconis sensors. Hours later, they approached the heavily guarded Draconis installation. Using advanced cloaking technology, they slipped past the outer defenses undetected. Inside, they moved silently through dimly lit corridors, stunning Draconis guards with precision shots. In the main laboratory, Captain Reeves quickly located a central data terminal. She inserted a quantum decryption device, her fingers flying over the holographic interface as she downloaded terabytes of classified information. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. "We've been made," growled Zorro, the Xeon combat specialist. "Time to leave." The team fought their way back to the shuttle, Draconis security forces in hot pursuit. As they lifted off, Captain Reeves clutched the precious data module to her chest. "Mission accomplished," she breathed. Back on Nova Atlantis, teams of scientists pored over the stolen data. Dr. Amita Patel's eyes widened as she realized the true scope of the Leviathan threat. "This is worse than we thought," she reported to Johnny. "Even a limited release could sterilize entire ocean ecosystems within days." Johnny's mind focused. "Then we need a countermeasure, fast. What are our options?" Dr. Patel brought up a holographic model of a microscopic organism. "We're working on a Leviathan-resistant symbiote. If we can saturate our colony's ecosystems with these, it might give us a fighting chance." As the science teams worked around the clock, massive climate stabilizers in the colony's thermospheres hummed to life. They released clouds of chemically enriched aerosols, seeding the oceans with the protective symbiotes. Throughout human-controlled space, a mass evacuation order went into effect. Civilians streamed into fortified Ark bunkers, carrying what few possessions they could. Military personnel took up defensive positions, knowing the Draken attack could come at any moment. In Nova Atlantis' central amphitheater, Johnny Roberts addressed a sea of anxious faces. His voice echoed through the vast underwater chamber, carried to every corner of the city. "Citizens of Nova Atlantis, of all our ocean colonies," he began, his tone somber yet resolute. "We stand on the brink of war. The Draconis Empire seeks to destroy all we've built, to deny us our rightful place among the stars and seas." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But we will not yield. We will not abandon the worlds we've